Hello everybody, this is a little tutorial on how to use GanttProject, which is a project management tool used to schedule tasks, lay out schedules, manage resources for those tasks, those type of things that any project manager is going to need to do to create a schedule and plan projects basically. So let's jump right into it. Let's go through the UI first just to get familiar with our surroundings. So you'll notice the taskbar up here. Project is where you're going to go for opening a new project, saving, exporting, those type of things. Edit will give you editing options, so undo, redo, refresh, paste, those simple ones. View gives us other views of the Gantt chart. Tasks, everything that has to do with tasks, creating task, properties, deletion. Same with resources, creating, we'll go into that a little later. And then help, if you need any help, or if you want to find anything out about GanttProject, that's where you're going to want to go. Then this bar underneath has some icons that represent some options we can use. This opens an existing project. We can save our project, create resources. That button changes depending which pane you're in. So this is create new resource or create new task, delete. Gives you some information about what you're highlighted on. Cut, copy, paste, and then you have your undo and redo. This search bar over here lets you search through your resources or tasks to find one easier than having to go through your list manually. Then you have we have this pane over here, which is going to list all of our tasks. If you're in the Gantt mode up here, it's going to list all of our tasks and give us some information. We can sort by name, date. That's useful for quick looking up. And then if you click on the resource option, it'll give you the name of all your resources, their roles, and some more information about them. We can make this bigger, we can make this smaller, we can expand it across the whole screen and then take it back, or we can completely remove it if we want. And we just click the little arrow to get it back out. So you'll see this big main area in the middle here is where everything will be happening. This is where all the tasks will be laid out in a Gantt chart fashion across the screen as we add them. We'll be able to, you can manipulate the chart through this main area as well as through the properties of the task itself, which it's helpful to do it in here because then you can see it as you're changing it. If we click on the resource option over here, we're going to see all of our resources as we populate them, and what they're working on as the schedule advances, when they have time to work on things, that type of thing. Alright, so let's get started with some simple tasks. First let's make a task and change the properties a little bit, and get this chart a little populated so we can see how it works. You can make a task a couple of different ways. You can right click in this main area and create new task. You can come over here and just and you can right click and create new task, and you can also click on this icon right here to create new task. So let's go ahead and use this option. You'll see that a bar has come up here that represents the task, and it also populated one space in this portion over here. We can change the name of the task simply by double clicking on it. So let's make this task first task. Now it'll show the begin date and the end date, depending on the default looks like it's 1 day. So once we create that task, we can now manipulate it in the main pane. So if you need to make it longer or shorter, we can just click on the end and move it around. Increase the days or decrease the days. Let's make this a week long. We can also show how much progress has been made in this task. So if we start all the way over here at the left and hold down left click and move across, we can increase the percentage by which say this task is half done, so we can increase it to 50% that way. So let's change this task a little bit. We can right click on the task in this pane, or we can right click on the task over here, or we can click on this right here and get the properties for that task. So here's our name that we already did. This defines if it's a milestone or not. So if that's something we were working towards rather than some task that's going to take a couple days. We can change the dates here as well as manually in the chart itself. These are constraints that can be added to it, so we can only begin it at this date. Let's not set that for that. And then here's our priority. What priority is that task? Is it high priority? Should we do it right away, or should we make it a little lower? If it can be put on the back burner, keep it at normal for now. Here's our progress. That was we already changed a little bit through the main view by starting at the left and moving over. Now this one option we can select if we don't want to show it on this main chart area. If we want to keep it hidden, maybe it's low priority, we don't want to see it. We can select that. This defines how it looks in the chart. So there's some rather funky looking options here. Let's keep it normal. And here we can change our color. So maybe you want to make different milestone tasks different colors to differentiate them, which is sometimes helpful. Let's make it red. Okay. And here we have a web link option. So you can say you have like a bug tracker or something that's assigned to that task. You can put a link to that here, and we can open the link through the task, which makes things rather easy. We can add notes to it, maybe what has been done so far, anything pertinent to the task. So then we have some tabs up here, which also pertain to the task, excuse me. So you can set predecessors, so things that need to be done before this task can be done. We don't have any other tasks right now, so we can't do that, but I'll show you a little bit how we can add those predecessors. We can also add resources to the task, who is working on it. We don't have any resources right now, but I'll go into that a little bit later. And then custom columns. So we can add anything else to this task that we want. Say, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to add another column down here. For example, let's say if this needs to be approved or not at the end. So we'll say needs approval. And we can set what type of variable that is. So needs approval is either yes or no, so that's a Boolean variable, and we're going to set the default to yes. Default value is true. So whenever we create a new task, it's going to need approval unless we go in here and change it. So then that shows up there. Alright, so now that we have our task and we've done a couple changes and we've seen how to change it a little bit, let's click OK. As you can see, the color changed, so that makes things easy. And up here you can see that it's listed in this on this timeline bar as well. First task, the name of the task. Let's make it this long. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a couple resources so we can assign them to that task and dig a little deeper into the options we have. So once again, we can right click in here to make a new resource, or we can click on this little, looks like a little like ID card type of thing. So let's click on that and create a resource. So who should our first employee be? Let's name him, I don't know, Bob Smith. It's generic enough. We can add a phone number, and we also can add an email, which is useful, and I'll get into that a little bit. So we'll say bsmith at somecompany.com. And default role, it's rather constrained here since this project is a generic project, but you'll see in a little bit, once we create a new project, we can expand this a little bit so we can get a little more granularity in terms of who this person actually is. So for right now, we'll leave it undefined. You can also set some days off so that tasks can be defined a little better in terms of when these people are working. So you can set a vacation date or something, and then that person won't be able to work on anything while they're off, which is useful. Now we also have this custom columns over here, which is very similar to the approval that we added to our first task. We can add more information to the resource if we need to. So let's say let's say we want to define if the person is part-time or full-time. So we can set full-time. This will also be a Boolean value since it's yes or no. It didn't work. Let's try again. There we go. Boolean. We want everybody that we create to be full-time unless we specify. So we'll set that to true. Let's add another one that's a string. So let's say what department they're in. So that's going to be text. We'll enable that for everybody we create. And let's say he's in the, I don't know, the development department. So now we have a little more information as to who this person is when we add those custom fields. Click OK. Now he shows up in the resource list. So his default role, whether he's full-time, and his department shows up as well. So now the useful part about adding an email to Bob was that we can send him an email through GanttProject, which is useful. Now I don't have Outlook installed on here, but when you click this, it'll open Outlook and open an email to Bob, depending on what his email was, which is pretty useful. Alright, so now that we know how to create a task and that we know how to populate our resources, let's go ahead and create a new project and get going and make something that's a little more interesting than this. So we're going to go up here to Project, New. I don't want to save this. Now here we can define what this project is. So we're gonna make this tutorial project. The organization will be some company. This is this link can be to anything, to a link to the project page, to a bug tracker, anything useful like that. So, and then we can also give a description. So this is a tutorial project. And click next once you have all this filled in. Now, before when we were creating Bob, we saw that his roles were rather limited. It was undefined or project manager. So here, if we click on software development, we get a little more granularity in terms of what people are doing, and it includes developer, doc writer, tester. We can set resources to these new values, which is pretty helpful. So you can set a holiday calendar, so tasks won't be worked on certain days. Where's the United States? There it is. And choose the weekend days. So Saturday and Sunday are the default weekend days. And on weekends, we want everybody's off, so that no tasks can be run those days. Click OK. Alright, so once we have our tasks created, or our project created, we can go ahead and start populating some. So let's go ahead and create some tasks. So let's say this is let's go with something simple like a web page. So first we need to design page. Then we need to code HTML for page. We also need to code JavaScript for the page. And then we want to release the page so that people can access it. So we made those all in this pane over here. We also could have right-clicked and created a new task. So let's make this a little longer. So say designing the page, we have front-end guys working on that. They're going to take a couple days. So let's make that about that long. We can go in here and change the properties a little bit. So let's make this begin as early as possible. So we want to begin tomorrow. And the priority is pretty high. Let's keep everything normal for now. We want to show it in the timeline, keep the shape similar. Let's make design stuff blue. No predecessors. We don't have any resources yet. And so let's get that ready. Okay. Code HTML for the page. Let's have development stuff be red. That green. Now we do want to add a predecessor. We can't code until we have the design. So now this this task can't be started until task number ID, which is this one right here, until that one is complete. So let's say coding takes a week. We'll do the same for, you can set your, there's a lot of color options here, but you can really go into some deep options, but we'll stick with this. Okay, set it the same color as the other development one. Keep all the same default options, and we also want to have the predecessor be the design. Let's get rid of this. Added one too many. Oh, looks like there's an error. Let's go back into here. Okay, there we go. Let's say that takes it just as long as coding the HTML. Now releasing the page. Let's make that a different color. And this needs to be after all of the coding is done. See, that takes a couple days to get it deployed. Now, once this is all complete, that means the project's complete, correct? So let's make a milestone that we can work towards to encompass all of that work. So let's say this is website complete. This is what we're working towards. That's going to be a milestone. Let's make that golden, like a gold medal. That's what we're running towards. And this needs to be done after we release. That's where we want it. So there we are. That's our milestone that we're working towards. So now we have a chart here. We can say we already started and we want to get some progress displayed in this chart. So we've done our designing, so we can left click on the left and drag it all the way across, so that's complete. Then we can say we're 50% done with the JavaScript and 55, let's say 60% done with the HTML. You can also, if you scroll with your mouse, you can zoom in if things are getting a little tough to work with that far out, so you can zoom in really. This is the farthest you can zoom in, and it. Oh, sorry, I zoomed out. So that makes things a little easier. And then you can see right here, this is where our milestone shows up on the list up there. We can see the critical path needed to complete. It highlights it in these diagonal lines, which is helpful. Now let's add some resources to these tasks. So let's add a couple people. Let's add Bob Smith again. We don't really need a phone number right now, but you can add that in the mail as well. So now we have these extra options that we got when we created the project. So let's make him the developer. He doesn't have any days off because he works very hard. Let's add the project manager. We'll make him Bill Brown. He's going to be our manager. And one more person, somebody with who does the DevOps. We'll make that just for PC reasons. Let's make it a woman. So make it. She's gonna be designer. So now that we have our resources, we can go into our projects and assign them. So the designer is going to be Sally. It's 100% of her time. Now the coding is going to be done by... Shoot, now I forget who we made our coder. Bob. can also set a coordinator here, whoever's in charge. If there's multiple people working on a project, that's who's coordinating it. Lastly, let's make this Bill. Alright, so now we have people working on our tasks. We go in here and we can see who's doing what at each particular time. So you can see across here, Bob's stuff is on the top. And we can display things with different colors, show their days off. If they're overloaded, it'll show in red. If they're underloaded, it'll show in green. If they're laid out perfectly, it'll show in blue. So we've laid it out good here. Okay, so we have a nice little project here with a couple tasks, a couple resources. Let's go in and save it. So let's save our project. Let's go to save it as a GanttProject file. So now one of the other great things about GanttProject is that you can export it to a Microsoft project file, which is extremely helpful if you are working with somebody else who maybe likes all of the extra features and budget managing and everything else that comes with Microsoft Project, whereas you only need a lightweight solution, which is what GanttProject is. So we can go in here and we can export as a Microsoft Project file. You can also export as an image. If we just need the chart, we can export as a comma separated. We can export as an HTML report and a PDF, which is all it's all extremely useful. So let's export it as a Microsoft Project file. Okay, so here we've opened our project in Microsoft Project, the one that we've exported. We can see that here's our tasks, here's our milestone, here's our resources that we've created. Everything's come over fairly smoothly. Some things will be out of place as GanttProject saves in an older file type, so you'll have to make a couple small changes, but overall it works out fairly well. Alright, so that's our overview of GanttProject. If you have any questions or you have any problems, you can go to their website at GanttProject.biz. Here you can download it. You can download on Windows, Linux, OS X. You can get help. You can. There's a forum, a blog, a list of bugs, anything that might be helpful in your usage of GanttProject. Thank you for watching. I hope this was useful, and have fun making your projects with GanttProject.